Assalamu alaikum dear students, this is International Islamic University, Islamabad Schools, Sahiwal Campus, Chemistry, Grade 9, Lecture number 3, Chapter number 4, Structure of Molecules. Students, bring your chemistry books, open them and write date and day properly. Listen to your teacher attentively and learn all the important points said by the teacher. Students, the topic which we are going to discuss today is covalent bond. The bond which is formed due to mutual sharing of electron is called a covalent bond. So this is basically the bond that is formed by the mutual sharing of electrons by both of the atoms that are keeping bonding. The energy changes due to the covalent bond formation are of considerable value. When two atoms approach each other, attractive forces develop between electrons of one atom and nucleus of the other atom. So when two atoms approach each other, there are some sort of attractive forces that develop between the electron of one atom and between the nucleus of the other atom that are going to bond with each other. So the energy changes during the covalent bond formation are of considerable value. When two atoms approach each other, the attractive forces are created between the electrons of one atom and the nucleus of the other atom, so the bond will form between them. Simultaneously, the repulsive forces between electrons of the two atoms as well as between their nuclei are also created. So the attractive and repulsive forces are simultaneously created. When the attractive forces dominate due to decrease in distance between those two atoms, a chemical bond is formed between them. So when the attractive forces dominate, a bond is formed, and if the attractive forces does not dominate, there is no bond formation. Repulsive forces between electrons of the two atoms as well as between the nuclei are also created. So the repulsive forces are created between the electrons due to their negative charge. Both the similar charges repel each other, and that of the nuclei of the both atoms. So the formation of hydrogen, chlorine, nitrogen and oxygen gases are few examples of this type of bonding. The electrons that pair up to form a chemical bond are basically known as bond pairs, as they take part in the chemical bonding. So these are known as bond pairs. So depending upon the number of bond pairs, covalent bond is classified into the following three types. The first one is single covalent bond, second double covalent bond, third is triple covalent bond. So this is basically depending upon the number of bond pairs that are formed between the two atoms that are taking part in the bond formation or that form covalent bond between them. So now first we will discuss about the single covalent bond. When an electron is contributed by each bonded atom, one bond pair is formed and it forms a single covalent bond. So if one electron is contributed by the one bonded atom and one bond pair is formed between the two atoms, so this is known as a single covalent bond. While drawing the structure of such molecules, the single bond pair is indicated by the line between those two atoms. So this type of bonding is shown by drawing a line between these two atoms. So single bond pair is indicated by a line between those two atoms. If we take up the example of single covalent bond, we can have example of hydrogen, H2, chlorine, Cl2, methane, CH4, and etc. Hydrogen, chlorine, hydrochloric acid are the examples of single covalent bond. So now you can see the examples about hydrogen and chlorine. Two hydrogen atoms combine with each other and they contribute with each other by a bond pair of electrons and form a hydrogen molecule that is represented as H, a single line denoted and then H. The second one example is of chlorine. Chlorine have 7 electrons in its outermost shell. So hydrogen and chlorine combine to each other with the sharing of electron. Both contribute one bond pair of electron and hence they form hydrochloric acid. If we take up the example of methane on the page number 62 of your textbook. Now you can have example of methane like CH4. So here are dot and cross formation is shown. Dot and cross formation is actually shown to represent that both the atoms are contributing electrons. So dot and cross are shown for the individual atom, like in this page number 62, cross are shown for the carbon electrons and dot are shown for the hydrogen electrons. So this is just a paper representation which shows the type of bond pairs. So a methane molecule is formed, and similarly HCl bond is formed on the page number 62. So these are the example of single covalent bond which are formed by the each bonded atom by the contribution of one electron by the each bonded atom. So one electron is contributed by the each atom, so both atoms contribute one and the other one also contribute one electron. So as a whole this is known as a one bond pair that form bond between these two atoms which contribute their electrons. The next one is double covalent bond. When each bond atom contributes two electrons, two bond pairs are shared and a double covalent bond is formed. So in this type of bond, two electrons are contributed by each atom, and between two atoms basically four electrons are contributed and two bond pairs are formed which form a double covalent bond, and these are represented by indicating double line between those two atoms in the structure of such molecules. So if we take up the example of the double covalent bond, we can have examples like on the page number 62 of your textbook, like oxygen O2 and then ethane C2H4. The molecules like oxygen gas and ethene C2H4 show such type of double covalent bonds. Now you can have the example about oxygen and carbon dioxide and hence NH3. So NH3 example, like ammonia example, is just a type of example of single covalent bond, and oxygen is a type of double covalent bond, and carbon dioxide is example of double covalent bond also. And here is another example like N triple bond N, that is nitrogen triple bond nitrogen, that is example of triple covalent bond which is represented over here. Triple covalent bond. When each bonded atom contributes three electrons, three bond pairs are involved in the bond formation. This type of bonding is called as triple covalent bond. So in this type of bond, each atom contributes three electrons, and as a result, three bond pairs are formed that are represented by the single line between these two atoms. So three single lines are presented between two atoms that form a triple covalent bond. So three small lines are used to indicate these three pair of electrons between those atoms in the molecules of such compounds. The examples of the molecules having triple covalent bonds are nitrogen N2 and ethane C2H2. So now you can have example on the page number 63 of your textbook. You have example of nitrogen, that is N2. So three bond pairs are shown on the page number 63 in the example of nitrogen, again, and dot and cross formation, that is a representation about the electrons of the particular atom. So three triple bonds are formed between nitrogen atom and nitrogen atom. Both nitrogen atoms also have a lone pair on them. So N2 bond is formed by the triple covalent bond. The next example is ethane C2H2. So three bond pairs are shared between two carbon atoms and ethane bond is formed between them, that is triple covalent bond. So now you can have example of nitrogen. Three bond pairs are shown in this picture that shows the three bond pairs contribute between these two atoms, or six electrons are basically shared between these two atoms and form a triple covalent bond. The second one example is about ethane, and this example shows that a carbon atom is bonded with the other carbon atom with the help of 3 bond pairs that are contributed between these two atoms and form the structure of ethyne molecule. By this mutual sharing of valence shell electrons, each of the contributing atom attains the octet or the nearest noble gas electronic configuration, as we have discussed in our previous lecture, that every atom tries to attain the nearest noble gas configuration to attain the maximum stability, to become the least reactive. If the atom is least reactive, then it will be the most stable one. So they always tries to attain their octet complete or attain the nearest gas electronic configuration to make them more stable. The next one is dative covalent or the coordinate covalent bond. Basically, this type of bond is formed that is basically a covalent bonding in which bond pair of electron is donated by the one bonded atom only. So the coordinate covalent or the dative covalent bond is a type of covalent bonding in which the bond pair of electron is donated by one bonded atom only. So the one bonded atom just donate the electrons and the other will accept. So it is basically a donor-acceptor relationship. The atom which donates the electron pair is called the donor, and the atom which accepts the electron pair is called the acceptor. So this is basically a donor-acceptor relationship in which the atom that gives up an electron is known as donor, and the atom that gains or accepts that electron by the donor is known as acceptor. A small arrow is usually shown to indicate the atoms and pair of electrons being donated. The head of arrow is toward the acceptor atom. So the head of arrow will be toward the acceptor by the donator. The non-bonded electron pair available on an atom, like the one available on the nitrogen in the ammonia NH3, is called a lone pair. So this is basically a lone pair that is represented on the NH3. You can see on the page number 63 of your textbook. Here is example of ammonia that attains a hydrogen atom or that combines with the hydrogen atom with the help of a dative covalent or the coordinate covalent bond. Hydrogen atom is basically electropositive and the ammonia has a lone pair of electrons, so it will be shared by the ammonia or it will be donated by the ammonia toward the hydrogen, and hydrogen will be the acceptor of that electron. So the bond pair of electron is donated by the ammonia and it is accepted by the hydrogen, and a dative covalent or the coordinate covalent bond is formed between ammonia and hydrogen, and the arrow is shown from donor toward acceptor. The second example is about ammonia and boron fluoride, that is BF3. Ammonia has a lone pair of electron and boron fluoride is electron deficient, so ammonia as a donor donates its bond pair of electron to the boron trifluoride, and boron trifluoride acts as an acceptor and it will attain the electron pair or the bond pair from the ammonia. So here is also a coordinate covalent bond is formed. So the lone pair of electron on the ammonia molecule is basically a donor. Hydrogen atom is acceptor. Hydrogen accept this electron and the hydrogen ion will accept this electron, and ammonia ion donate this electron. Basically the ammonia donate this electron and hydrogen accept this electron, so basically ammonium ion is formed, that is an H4 positive, and it is basically a coordinate covalent bond. The second example is about donor ammonia and the acceptor boron trifluoride, that is shown on the page number 63 of your textbook. Again the ammonia boron trifluoride is formed in this example, and that is a coordinate covalent bond. So this is end of the lesson. Allah Hafiz.